Two headlines last week got the attention of a lot of air travelers. First, a near miss on Tuesday east of Pittsburgh when a trainee air traffic controller mistakenly told a Delta pilot to turn into the path of another plane. Those two planes reportedly only 400 feet apart. Well, the same week, Southwest Airlines was fined for flying planes deemed unsafe. And now the head of one congressional committee says that the FAA needs to, quote, a top-to-bottom house cleaning, end quote. Peter Goelz, aviation expert, former managing director of the National Transportation Safety Board. How are you, Peter? Good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
Clean house for the FAA, is that what's required?
Well, when Jim Oberstar, congressman from Minnesota, speaks, you really need to listen. He is the expert on aviation in the Congress. And I think he's going to have a pretty serious hearing in April when he brings the FAA in and DOT in to talk about these incidents.
Part of the conflict here, apparently in his view anyway, is that the FAA has gotten too cozy with the airlines. If true, what does that suggest?
Well, what happens is the FAA assigns oversight inspectors to each of the airlines, and they can stay there sometimes for 5 and 10 years. And the question is, does a culture of convenience take over as opposed to a culture of oversight? And there have been discussions about shifting these inspectors and others on a rotating basis, but that costs money.
Yeah, that costs money, I guess, in the end. What about safety? Are we at risk at the moment, or how do you read that?
Well, I think we've got the safest airline system in the world, and the record proves that. But it's this kind of hearing that makes sure that we continue that record. I think the hearing is called for, and I think it's going to be an important event.
When you read, well, some of the reports that we have already about Southwest Airlines and a number of airplanes that went past their deadline for getting checks, how common is that, do you think, Peter? It's not supposed to happen that way.
Well, each airline has their own internal system that's supposed to catch this. And in this case, Southwest actually caught it, and they disclosed it themselves to the FAA. Their local guy apparently made a decision and said, fine, you can keep flying till you get these inspections done. That was a mistake, and apparently he's been removed from his position. I think we've got a good system, but a hearing like this will certainly serve to tighten it up.
So you're saying the whistleblower from the airline reported this?
The airline self-disclosed, and that's how the system is built. The system is built on airlines wanting to have as safe an operation as possible. They self-disclose many of these problems, and the FAA gives them some degree of credit for doing that, so that it encourages the system to be as safe as possible.
I think when you mentioned James Oberstar at the outset of this, it got my attention too, so we will track it from here. You come back when you have information we need to know, all right?
I will, Bill. Thank you.
Peter Goelz, thank you from Washington today.